All right, welcome to Montreal, September 29th. With me, Philippe Dugré, challenge designer, challenge creator for tonight's challenge, and Alexandre Beaulieu, I said, which is a noteworthy participant because Philip created the challenge but didn't actually reverse it. So I think Alex is here to talk about the reverse engineering portion of the challenge. But okay, so before we start, I just want to do a quick announcement, a couple of quick announcements, not announcements, but updates, I guess, since we haven't been offline for a while. New season format. So we decided that we're gonna take a summer break almost every summer to focus and plan on content for the coming months. And so this is kind of a new format, and because of that, we look super old. 18 years for us. And this is episode 1, and we're gonna have episode 2, okay, which would be October. We are looking for someone from United CTF to give a challenge of United CTF. So if anyone listening knows anyone who created a challenge or solved a particularly interesting one, please let us know, or you know what, like drop his name either on the Twitch chat or in the Discord chat so that he feels like he has no choice. Then for November, right now we are in discussion. Well, it's confirmed. Crowell from Overflow is gonna do DEF CON CTF, the official DEF CON CTF challenge. So this is for November. I forgot the name of the challenge. I can mention it later or drop it in the chat. And no, December is gonna be our Ho 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 Day challenge exchange Christmas special. So we're gonna have that as well. So if you have something or you want to work on something, please start now. And it's gonna be the same YAML format as last year, but we're gonna post details eventually. And yeah, so for next month, United CTF would like to find someone if you know anyone. Also, last couple things before we go. We are making changes to our website, and we did some already. That if you take a look, we added also videos on YouTube. We're gonna publish more stuff on YouTube quicker. We might also like the extract some of the interview portion at the end of our sessions. And there are more updates coming to the website, including a new logo. So we have had a logo design. It's a bit confusing compared to our old stuff. So I didn't want to push it like today and then have people lost and that couldn't find the Twitch or the Discord. Since it's just the logo. So it's gonna roll out after during October, but it's good because it's we're not gonna focus on the hacker glider but have our own identity, so it's better. And there are some other things that are coming up that are unrelated to Montreal, but where Montreal is participating. There will be a cyber talent prize for Quebec resident only. That is coming up, where yours truly is a member of the jury. So it will be announced in a couple of days, but I give you an exclusive here. If you are below 30 years old, you can apply to win the cyber talent. Someone who represents the future of the cybersecurity scene. So consider presenting, and I'll talk about it probably in October. But since the time frame is a month to submit, I thought I would mention it here. And details are gonna be online, and we're gonna post that on social media and probably on Discord as well. So I spoke enough. Now it's time for Philip to take the floor. Philip.
Hi there. Just give me a moment. I'll just put the slides up. I don't know how to use Google Slides, apparently. Okay, I think it's up.
Does oh yeah.
Okay, so welcome everyone. This is Montreal. And basically, we'll be presenting the challenge Nestadia I wrote for the NorthSec CTF back in May. Uh, Basically, a bit about me. I'm a security analyst at Devolutions. I love cryptography and bound/binary exploits and all that stuff. I'm a challenge designer at NorthSec. I'm the guy that actually wrote the challenge. That's why I'm here presenting it. And also, I drink a lot of tea.
Hi, I'm Alex. Most of you know me as ALXBL. I'm a software developer slash security researcher slash reverse engineering slash challenge designer. So I do many things, and I love coffee. I drink way too much of it. And today I'm going to be presenting to you guys the solution for flags 2 and 3. Because I actually attended NorthSec this year, and so I was the first person to solve it. So I'll go through the solutions and try to show you a little bit how we approached it. So I'll let Philip go ahead and.
Oh, thanks for your intro, guys. Just wait a sec. I think we're having technical issues with the slides. So I think audio is still up, but slides are not.
Oh.
So I guess this is time to plug more of your own stuff, if relevant.
Oh,
So
so well, yeah, just like Alex said, basically he's the first person that caught flag 2 and 3. Flag 1 is a bit of a bait and it's pretty easy, so that doesn't really count. But he's the first that got flag 2 and 3 and the only one that got flag 3. There's also a flag 4 that I'll try to show if we have time. That's really hard and really spicy.
Yeah. Flag
so
4. Oh, go ahead, Olivier.
what I like about what you just said is that I will be able to have at least one flag. The first one.
Yeah, the first flag is kind of a bait so that people think it's easy and then cry trying to get the second one.
I think slides should be up now. So I mean, it's pretty much what we just talked about. But
Yeah, there's not that much to see for the slides. I've written them like 20 minutes ago.
Okay, so should people just jump on the challenge now and look at it?
Yeah, I'll try to give a lot of clues of where to go first because it's a really long challenge and we only have 3 hours. So I'll just um, show where to look for the first flag, so it doesn't take too
Okay.
long.
Yeah, perfect. Go ahead.
So once you get on the website, you get greeted with I'm not sure, does it still works? Oh yeah, it works. So when you get on the website, you're greeted with a basic homepage. You got 3 buttons. So the one lets you try the emulator with a built-in ROM that's legal to put there for the competition. So those are public domain ROMs. So if you find it too hard, you can always relax a bit and play a bit of Flappy Bird. Might be a bit long to show that, but yeah, you can play games. That's an NES emulator. Another button lets you do the same thing, but by uploading your own ROM. And the third button, that's pretty obvious that you need to go there, is the login for developers, which asks you a password. So the first step is to break that login. So have fun. Oh, by the way, the URL is right there on the slides.
Yeah, it should be noted as well that if you cached a previous Montreal challenge that had HTTPS, the site will try HTTPS first and you'll get an error. but there's no error. You just click on the URL, remove the S from HTTPS, punch again, and you should be able to reach Nestadia.
Also, another thing to note, if you get a bit ahead in the challenge, you might find flags that are called flag debug 1, flag debug 2, flag debug 3, etc. Those are not real flags. Those are placeholders. So those are not the real flags. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Good luck, and we'll see you in, I'd say, like 15 minutes or maybe a bit more to show the first flag.
Different dreams between us and ocean. I look at the stars, I see the rising sun. Different roads but no one highway. Still I'm here for you for every bad day. It will never change. La distance, rien ne change. Malgré la distance, tu es toujours là. Rien ne change, on ne s'oublie pas. Different dreams between us and ocean. I look at the stars, I see the rising sun. Different roads but no one highway. Still I'm here for you for every bad day. It will never change, never change. Love knows no distance. It will never change, never change. It will never change. Rien ne pourra nous séparer, rien ne pourra nous séparer. Tu es avec moi, partout où je vais. Les océans ou les années, rien ne pourra nous séparer. J'espère que tu sais, malgré la distance, rien ne change. Malgré la distance, tu es toujours là. Rien ne change, on ne s'oublie pas. Different dreams between us and ocean.
spend more time in my own mind than my own life. Drowning in tears, swimming in a sea of our dreams. Yeah, I spend more time in my own mind than my own life. Wanting you here, yeah, but I only see you in my dreams. I'm better when I'm sleeping, yeah. I'm better when I'm sleeping. like a blessing. Oh, I wasn't waiting for you, wasn't waiting for you. Yeah, I was just wasting all my time living without you, time living without you. Yeah, like a rocket on a planet, that's how I feel. You're so gorgeous and you know it, you can't be real. And you use it to confuse me, but in the best ways. You make my day. Baby, keep loving, keep loving me just like you do it, like you do it, like you Hips don't lift, so we keep growing just like we do it, like you do it, like you. Cause I want it like you want it too. Don't get insecure, baby. I like you, sure, baby. Cause that's the only way to build something amazing. And there's gonna be some bad wishes from people that don't really understand the feeling that we have. There's gonna be some bad wishes from people that don't really understand this what we have. Baby, keep loving, keep loving me just like you do it, like you do it, like you. Hips don't lift, so we keep growing just like we do it, like you do it, like you. Some bad wishes from people that don't really understand the feeling that we have. There's gonna be some bad wishes from people that don't really understand it's that we have. Oh, baby, keep loving, keep loving me just like you do it, like you do it, like you. Hips don't lift, so we keep growing just like we do it, like you do it, like you.
Close your eyes, don't think it much. Maybe then you'll feel alright. All these noises, all these voices, they give me tied to the ground. Breaking free, leave it all behind. It's so harmful to me. Poison. Poison. question will always hang on to me. Can never with it to know, it's just that I feel lonely. Looking for something to realize, afraid of what's beyond me. I look into the mirror, cannot recognize the monster I'm seeing before my eyes. Breaking free, leave it all behind. It's all so harmful to me. Poison. Poison. No.
my head says, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I don't even know, these people come and go before you know they're all gone. Even when no hope, I know the show I still go on. But where the fuck do I go? Where the fuck do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I? Won't somebody help me to get the world to somehow slow down? I don't know where to go now. When I was a kid, I couldn't wait to grow up. Now I wanna grow down, but I don't know how. All I have is this voice in my head screaming so loud. Where do I belong? Where do I belong? The voice in my head says, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I don't even know, these people come and go before you know they're all gone.
Hey, so it's time to present how to do the first flag. So yeah, like I said, just right before I left everyone to play with it, I said that the flag was located in the dev login page. Basically, here you simply get a prompt that's asking you a password. So the good old trick there is to view the source. But if you just view the source normally, you're stuck with a mess. Why are you stuck with a mess? Because the source of this page is bundled because it uses a full-on web framework, which in this case is React.js. And if you mess a bit around with it, you'll see that the server contains the source maps for the code, so you can actually get access to the full source code. To do that, you need to go to your developer console, go into the debugger tab, and then just look around with it until you find basically what you want. Okay, so basically here you got the clear text source for the entire application. Basically what you're looking for at that point is the login page. That's where there's the biggest chance you'll find what you're looking for if you try to bypass the login page. If you look a bit through it, you can see that there's a function called verify password that basically returns a bool if B2A of the password is this. B2A is a base64 function. You can look that up on the internet. Base64 is the way to encode binary data into text. So this goes from basic to binary to A for ASCII. So that's an encoding to base64. So you need to decode this as base64, which you can simply go by Googling online. And that's a mess. And you'll get another big mess of letters, but that's the actual password. Once you're logged in, hooray, you just got the first flag of the track. So from here on out, you can test out a debug build of a new game, which is completely broken as of right now. It just does a bunch of shit. Yeah, those bear bugs are supposed to be colliding, but they're not because I cannot code NES games. And the other button, makes you download the binary, well, a debug build of the binary of the server itself. So from there, the way you should go about is download that file and start reversing the server itself. Um, there's kind of a branching path at that point, so whether you want to go for flag 2 or flag 3, but basically what you're looking for flag 2 is to dump the actual ROM file of the debug game, the broken ass game that you get taken to when you press the other button, and the other flag you need to find a backdoor. That's the flag 3. So for right now, I suggest you go with flag 2 because it's easier and that's the first one we'll actually present. So try to dump from the binary of the server, try to dump the ROM file for the new upcoming game that's being developed.
But where the fuck do I go? Where the fuck do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? Since that night, I realized I didn't want another lover. Cause we had time, but I still just didn't want it to be over. I'm in, I could've kept going forever. I'm in, I really wanna see it together. I'm in, to be honest, I just never felt like this. Never felt like this. You got me stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone, waiting for you to call again. Stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone, ready for you, want you so bad. Stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone, waiting for you to call again. Stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone, ready for you, want you so bad. I'm waiting you to get here, you got the address, so you know how to get here. Ooh yeah, we both know it felt real, so just take the damn wheel. Let's make all the Shakespeare. I'm in, I could've kept going forever. I'm in, I really wanna see it together. I'm in, to be honest, I just never felt like this. Never felt like this. You got me stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone. Waiting for you to call again. Stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone. Ready for you, want you so bad. Stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone. Waiting for you to call again. Stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone. Ready for you, want you so bad. Stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone. You know you got me so stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone. Oh, oh. You got me stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone. Waiting for you, I'm waiting for you to call again. Stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone. Ready for you, want you so bad. Stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone. Waiting for you to call again. Stuck to the phone, stuck to the phone. Ready for you, want you so bad.
Cause you made everything okay. I can't believe I
You love the way that I apologize. I'd do anything to turn around, but this war that we've been fighting out can't be won until you're real for me. Try not to damage us. I can't be me till we work out if we belong. I've been cutting halos, you won't come back. You got me talking to your shadow. Hello, are you there? Maybe we could work something out. We could just figure out where all of this comes from. Take me back to the time where every single minute counts, when all of this mattered. And then lay you up. All we gotta do is start again. Tell me lay you up. All we gotta do is start again. Tell me lay you up. Take my hand and we'll be over this. Talk to me about anything you want. No, this silly war we're fighting out can't be won until you're real for me. Try not to damage us. I can't be me till we work out if we belong. I've been cutting halos, you won't come back. You got me talking to your shadow. Hello, are you there? Maybe we could work something out. We could just figure out where all of this comes from. Take me back to the time where every single minute counts, when all of this mattered. And then lay you up. All we gotta do is start again.
माया भरा तू सकुरे किनु जादू दिला हानी मिसकी हाही तीरे नीला मुरमों काली आहना का खरोते
My dreams never fell in too deep. Patient, been longing to be. There's so much meaning to love. A passion you can't get enough. If life is like a parachute, I must land. I know I can be where you easily I fall
sure that tonight will be different. I promise you'll understand. As the moon rises, the dark sets upon us, and then I will take your hand. Tell you that I want you, and that I need you. Tell me that you understand. And I will tell you that I want you, and that I need you. Make me the happiest man. The seven wonders, there's nothing that we won't see. No matter where we go, you'll always have with you a true protector in me. Tell you that I want you, and that I need you. Tell me that you understand. And I will tell you that I want you, and that I need you. Make me the happiest man. And baby, I can't stop smiling. I'm excited. I'm living in Wonderland with you by my side. I'm flying, I'm gliding. I hope that I never land. I hope 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 I never land. Tell me, do you understand that I will be your man? Tell me, do you understand that I will be your man?
Play games just to escape mistakes made in the past. If only I could change. And all the love you gave, it came and went so fast, and only left the pain. Now all I think about, just say that we can turn it round. I don't think I can go without. I don't think I can go without you. Without, can go without you. Without, can go without you. Brought my soul sunshine to a body as cold as mine. Really put me in overdrive, but it made me blind. Was all in my mind the whole damn time. You gave to me something I never had, all that I need, but then you took it back. I shared a scene, but it happened just like that. Yeah, you hurt me bad. Now I play games just to escape mistakes made in the past. They never fade away.
Can't spend another day like this. Sick of saving face lying. Going on by default, so I don't feel it all. Standing at a glass wall looking in. And voices keep screaming. And without even thinking, I'm listening, listening, listening. They're saying we've got you, we've got
strictly mine. I don't wanna waste my time. Right now I'm just feeling yours. I will never let you cry. Yeah, you're what I was looking for. Baby, let's just give a try. Anything can happen. It could be more than a night. I just saw you and don't believe it. When you smile, my heart just reacts. You're so perfect, and I mean it. It's so easy to love you. Easy to love you. It's so easy to love you. Yeah, yeah.
and over again. I'm jumping through hoops, so you don't have to. Making you smile as long as I can. Storm clouds are coming, and it's best if you prepare. But if we get tomorrow, I promise I can try. Give you love to borrow, if just to get us by. And sometime when you're ready, I'll soften up the blow. Our love was never made to last, and I don't wanna give you back to hold on to. To hold on to. To hold on to. Too many takers, not enough give. I let you hear music and cover your bruises. So if we get tomorrow, I promise I can try. Give you love to borrow, if just to get us by. Sometime when you're ready, I'll soften up the blow. Our love was never made to last, and I don't wanna give you back to hold on to. To hold on to. To hold on to.
मैं तो खोया रहूं तेरी याद But I feel it enough for you. Sorry I've been wrong to you, love. 'Cause I've been falling if I can't lie. Receiving things you broke it down. Feeling nothing easy for now.
Alright, everyone. We'll go about how to solve flag 2 now. So there's several ways to go about it. The way that we did it during the CTF is we initially we figured out that so if you go to here, let me just pull up the password real quick. Once you downloaded the debug build, right? You would see that there's a few ROMs that you can play, and our first suspicion was that the flag would be in one of the ROMs. But unfortunately, the ROMs are running on the server when you're using the Nestedia in the UI, in the web browser. But now that we have the debug build locally, that means that we're also able to play the ROMs locally. So what we did was we tried to extract the ROMs from the binary. And to do that, what you can do is you can look up the INS file format. So there's a website called Nesdev Wiki. And if you go to Nesdev Wiki, they have, sorry, in the reference guide here, they have data on the INS file format. And the first thing that you see about the INS file format is that it starts with a header. And this header, if we scroll a little bit, let's see that it starts with. It's not written in here. So anyway, this header starts with the letters NES and then the byte 1A. So what we did was we wrote a small carver for it. So I won't write the code live right now, but basically this is here in Python using Pwn tools. We have the magic, and we scan the binary for all of the files, for all of the Nest ROMs, and every time we find a Nest ROM, we read the header to get the size of the ROM, and we dump it to the disk. So this gets you the ROM. So if I run this right now, I'm going to run the script here on my Nestadia build, the debug build. You can see that I find a ROM at these offsets, and I dump the ROM, and I dump like a little bit of the header. So I get 3 ROMs. So that corresponds. So when you go in the UI, you have the Flappy Bird, the Nezzard Bus, and the what's the other one? Alter Ego ROMs. And then the last attempt that we have here that fails is basically because most likely somewhere in the emulator they validate that the file that you're trying to load has the magic header. So this is probably not an actual ROM, but just like the code that checks like does the ROM start with Nest 1A. But we only have 3, and we know that there's a dev ROM. And actually, during the CTF, I spent most of a night trying to reverse all of these and trying to find the flag in one of them, until it occurred to me that maybe the answer was in the dev ROM. So there are 2 approaches to dump the dev ROM. The first one is to reverse engineer statically the emulator and figure out where it is, because like obviously it's not in plain text anywhere. And the second one, which is what we did, is you just go to your debugger, because you're able to play it locally. So obviously you must be able to load it at some point. So what I did is I went to GDB on Nestedia debug. And once it started, so I used PwnDBG, which is, let me just see if I can zoom in on this. So I use PwnDBG, which makes it a lot easier to work with GDB. The first thing I did was info functions for Nestadia. And so there's a lot of functions in here. So I kind of just read through this, and I tried to figure out like which functions might be interesting. And at the like after all of this stuff here, you can see right here there's a function called Nestadia server start emulation. And this is very interesting because if we're starting emulation, it means that the ROM has to be in memory somewhere. So what I did is I just put a breakpoint on this, then I ran the emulator. And now that the emulator is running, let me just zoom out. I'll go to the website on my local host. And then if I go to the dev login, so on my local host, I actually patch the password so that it can be anything. And then when I do test out the new game, the UI here freezes. But that's because if I go back to my debugger, now I hit the breakpoint, right? And if I zoom back into here, now we see there's the CPU state. And we'd be interested in seeing where that ROM is. Sorry, I'm going to try to do this here. And this is by experience, just because I know what the header looks like, right? So we can see this is the header here. But if you didn't know that just at a glance, you would probably just be dumping all the registers, like hex dump RAX or whatever, everything that looks like an address, and looking for anything that looks like a ROM. And so if it wasn't in the registers, you would probably then start looking on the stack, because at that point, to start emulation, the ROM buffer has to be passed to that function to be able to start the ROM. So I'm just going to scroll back down, and I'm going to hex dump the RDX register, and we can see this looks like the beginning of a ROM, right? So what I did next was I just took that a step further, and I dumped the first 800 bytes of the dump just to get the whole dump. And immediately we can see the flag here, right? So the flag is somewhere in that ROM. Now you could just grab this and submit it, which is actually what we did in the CTF. What I did was basically dump string on this, and I just copy pasted this. But the truth is, you need that ROM for later in the challenge, and it would be interesting to look at it in more detail locally. So what you can do next is you can dump it, and let me just zoom out and grab that command, which I copy pasted. You can just dump that binary blob to disk. So using dump binary memory, I'm just going to call this dev.nes. And just put a really big offset to make sure that you have all of the bytes in the ROM. And now if I just quit the debugger, I should have a dev.nest here. And if I do file in this dev.nest file, you can see it says it's a nest ROM. But unfortunately, if I look at that actual file, I just like look at the bytes. Oops, sorry. You can see I have a lot of zeros at the end because I just dumped a excessive amount of data. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, do I have this? 1 second. Yeah, I'm just going to run my carve script on dev.nest. And now you can see that I found a ROM here. And if I go grab FCUX, and I load that ROM that I just got, so it's this one here. You can see that now if it starts, maybe it's, oh, I think I hit a breakpoint, that's why. 1 second, let's just run. Hitting the breakpoint still, run. All right. Now you can see I'm running the ROM locally, and I have the dev ROM if I want to like reverse engineer it. So that's flag 2. Flag 3 actually is the one where you don't have a choice to look into the emulator and try to understand what it does. And before we get into flag 3, I'm going to give one hint. You should look at the CPU clock function to begin with and try to reverse that. The CPU clock function is basically the function that's going to process all of the NES opcodes. So opcodes would be like an x86, like any assembly instruction, but this is for the NES assembly, which is a 6502. So around 9 o'clock, I'll present the solution for flag 3. And until then, everybody have fun, and hopefully you manage to make some progress on flag 3 as well.
I was awake when you called me, but I couldn't pick up. Stuck thinking about why I'm so lonely, even when I've got love. 'Cause I take one step, then I spiral. I can't get out till I'm hurt. I wanna break out, but not able. I'm laying down in the dirt. Maybe I just need some time to pull myself together. I don't really feel like trying now. Will I stay forever? No, we'll be alright. I wish every night. Will somebody save me? 'Cause I'm not okay here.
together. 'Cause when you touch me, and I can't refuse, baby, I pray we'll be okay. Say you won't go and break my whole heart now. Feels like playing with fire, but I like the burn. If I could, I'd give it so much sooner. But it don't make sense that I give you all of me. Tell me what you want, I get what you got, what you got. Tell me what you want, I get what you got, what you got. Tell me what you want, I get what you got, what you got. Tell me what you want, I get what you got. I can't deny it's so cliche. I know your lies, I know your ways, but I'll be fine. This price to pay might just kill me, but I love it. Yeah, I love it. But I love it. Yeah, I love it. What you want? I get what you got, what you got. Tell me what you want, I get what you got, what you got. 'Cause I can give you what you need. I want your fantasy, I got you. Tell me what you want, I get what you got.
Let's hope that we can find a civilization across the line. A village of warriors who falling short, no matter their undefeated. We can conquer what we've come here to take over. We will rise like the fire, fight till this is over. It's all in the power you can find. We will rise like the fire, fight till this is over. Till this is over. Invasion has taken everything we've started. We are lonely drivers destined not to make it. Born to survive and yet we prosper in this deserted youth. The monsters, nothing takes our hearts in the land that we have lost here. We can conquer what we've come here to take over. We will rise like the fire, fight till this is over. It's all in the power you can find. We will rise like the fire, fight till this is over. Till this is over. We will rise like the fire, fight till this is over.
Tonight, I wish that I had known I've been sleeping alone, but you can't decide. And it is plain to see that your priorities just do not fit right. I can't reconcile this feeling. Whoa, whoa, 'cause I remember when you had certainty. There is empty space where your body won't stay next to mine. Nothing to embrace but the loneliness of this cold night. Oh, this fever comes and goes. Time slows. But the longer I belong, the more I grow. Trying to get over you, but you can't decide if you're still wanting me. And now this in between causes more divide. I can't reconcile this feeling, 'cause I remember when you had certainty.
try to make myself believe in all these better times that you say I needed. I know you're on my mind, and I've been trying to teach myself that being all alone is better than mistreated. But I'm still breathing tonight, believing I can make the right choice. I know my heart's still beating. I just need a way to make it past the light. 'Cause I'm still breathing. Looking for a little sign of life, hoping I feel brighter on the inside. It's looking like we're gonna make a new start tonight. But I'm still breathing tonight, believing I can make the right choice. I know my heart's still beating. I just need a way to make it past the light. 'Cause I'm still breathing.
Alright everyone, welcome back. Now we'll take a look at flag 3. I hope you had a fun time with the second one. So for flag 3, you don't really have a choice but to look into how the emulator works. There are really a lot of places where it can be hidden, but the best way to find it is to start just by reversing how the CPU works. And if you were paying attention when you were running the strings, you might have seen that there's like two strings. There's one for flag 3 and flag 4 in the binary. But if you try to cross-reference them after doing the analyze everything in the Ghidra, which I'm not gonna do now because in my binary it's already done, but it actually takes quite a long time, and you might not find those cross-references. And the reason for that is that the Ghidra still struggles quite a bit with Rust disassembly and decompiling. So as you reverse, you're going to come across those cross-references and it becomes a bit more obvious. So previously in the flag 2, what we did is we ran info, let me see if I can just run this again, info functions Nestadia. And by looking through these functions, there's a few functions that come up as interesting for the CPU. The main one being the Nestadia core CPU clock. And if you're familiar with electronics, the clock is usually the thing that triggers constantly and makes the whole circuit tick forward. So since this is an emulator for the NES, which is essentially a very simple computer, the clock function looks like an interesting place to start looking at. So going back into Ghidra, and I'm just going to jump. I have a few bookmarks here to help me go through this. So we'll start by looking at the CPU clock function. And I'm not going to go through all of the reversing from scratch because that would take forever. But I'm going to kind of try to explain what we did to figure out how this works. So the first thing to notice is that is basically to identify where the CPU state is in the emulator. And to do this, what we used was a mix of dynamic debugging combined with the static debugging in Ghidra to annotate the program. So I'm just going to focus here on this decompile view here, and we can see that the CPU clock function is very relatively simple. There's the CPU variable here, which I believe is R15, which there's still some variables that we haven't figured out yet, so this is like an unknown field being read. And then we can see that the CPU bus is being read at what we identified as being the program counter register rather. And then we can see this thing here called opcode as enum, and it's so basically we're reading an instruction from the CPU at the current program counter, and we're converting it to something. Then the program counter is incremented, and then let me see if I can go out of this. And then we have this thing here called the opcode table. This is not very obvious here, so I'll try to show you in the disassembly. And I have a few comments to make this a bit clearer. So we see that when we get the opcode, which is essentially stored in DL at this point, and then we add x80 to it, and then we use this to load the address into RCX using the opcode table, and we jump to this RCX address, which is basically the instruction in the server, which handles the NES instruction that was loaded. And now my cat is climbing here. 1 second. All right. And so the problem with this is that there are 255 instructions or possible instructions for the NES since the computer is 8-bit, right? So this table, by default, it will not resolve all of the opcodes. And this is why you have some missing code. Like Ghidra will tell you that there's too many jump targets and that it's not going to resolve them. So to avoid that, what I did is I wrote a script in Ghidra to basically, the idea is this. We're going to start from this address here. Let me see if I can zoom in and draw. So we're going to start from here, and we're going to emulate all of these instructions except for the jump. Actually, we don't care about the jump, but we want to make our way to here, and then we can identify the value of RCX, which is essentially the address of the opcode. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a label at this address to basically identify all of the opcodes in the binary, and then we can start reverse engineering those individually to hopefully find something interesting and maybe find like obviously the or rather not that obviously, but we're hoping that the CPU is going to reference those two flag strings somewhere. So let me just jump here to my script manager. I'll show you the script that I wrote here. Let me see if I can pull up the editor. So I actually rewrote the script for MontreHack because initially I have my own analysis platform on Ghidra, but Ghidra also has an emulator, so I tried to rewrite the script so that it would be usable in Ghidra. So basically this script, without going into too much detail, I'll post it in the chat after. Basically it sets up an emulator for the program. It gets the register for RCX, and then we put the address of the first instruction, which is the one that loads the opcode table. And we basically take 3 steps to execute, to evaluate these 3 instructions, and then we just get the value of RCX back out of the register, and we basically add a label at that address, which is basically the label is opcode with the number of the opcode, so the equivalent NES instruction. And after we run this thing, so I'll just run it real quick. So I just double click on this here, and I go to the console. You should see here, down here, we have all of the opcodes that were identified for the NES opcodes. And we'll just, oops, sorry, that's not relevant. We'll just say go to opcode 80. And this is totally random and not a coincidence. But, oh, look at this. This is the opcode that seems to load flag debug 3 and flag oops, my bad, and flag debug 4. And there's an interesting bit here which we realized way too late in the CTF, but the emulator, so this is the CPU state basically, at this offset 8, it looks at the byte there, and if it's 1, then it loads flag 3, and if it's not 1, then it loads flag 4. This is the move here that you can see. And so depending on the value here, you either get flag 4 or flag 3. And this is very important to understand to get the flag 4, but I'm sure Phil will talk about that a bit later. What we see then when we follow this code is that it seems to load an offset at the CPU plus 2. And then basically it takes that offset and it takes whatever is at the flag value from that offset, it puts it in AL, and then it writes the AL register back to CPU plus 2. So the next question is, what is CPU plus 2? And the answer to that, which you can do, what we did is we basically said, what are the registers in NES? And there are basically 3 useful registers. There's X, Y, and A. And we just took the opcodes. Let me see if I can pull this up to show you guys. We pulled the opcodes for the 6502 instruction set, and basically there's a LDA immediate. So these opcodes here, which load a value into the register, and we took all of the variants for all of these for X, Y, and A, and we put a value in it, like say OX41. And we tried to look at where that OX41 ended up in the CPU. And so doing that, we're able to identify in the CPU where the X, Y, and A registers are. And it turns out that CPU plus 2 is the A register. So basically, this opcode 80 actually, this is a typo in the code that we have. We didn't add the 80 offset. So opcode hex 80 takes whatever is an A, which is an index, grabs the index byte of the flag and puts it back into A. So this is like your backdoor instruction. So the idea is you could just do a loop that puts 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on into A, and every time you dump the byte of the flag into A, and then you have to find a way to dump that memory content to the screen, because the ROM is running on the server. You can't just print it to the command line. You have to print it to the screen. And so to do that, and this is the hard part of this challenge, you have to write your own ROM. So enters what I used is LD65, which is basically an assembler for, well, CA is the assembler, LD is the linker for 6502 assembly. And this very nice IDE, which is I call compile.sh, which basically takes a NES ROM and builds it, alongside with a, this is something I found on GitHub. I can probably post a link later, but it's a collection of sample ROMs with the build scripts and all the stuff that you need. And some of the ROMs have debugging for like functions to print text to the screen and so on. So we just grab the ROM, And let me see if I can pull this up here. Flag tree. So our ROM is basically this. Let me set it to highlight and zoom on this. So this shell inc is all the code that comes with the framework, which has what you need to print text and so on. So this function print char is actually defined in shell.inc, and it prints any byte as a character to the screen. So what we do is a simple program that sets x, which is going to act as our index, to 0. Then we transfer x to a. We use our backdoor to get a is the byte a in like the byte at index a into the a register, and then we print that character. We increment x, and then we just loop over this forever, and hopefully that's going to print the flag. And then the next step, once we have that, is so this looks simple, right? But it took a while to figure that out, and a lot of reading the 6502 manual. But once you have that, you basically let me see if I can do this. I'm not sure. I think I have it pre-built. I won't build it for you, but you basically run compile.sh on flag3, and then you get flag3.nest. And if I go to, let me see if I can get to my browser here on the actual server. So right here, I'm going to type in the password, which is 1 second, right here. This is the password. Type this in. And now I wait, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be in the I don't need a password. I just need to upload my ROM, my bad. So upload your own ROM. So I browse to my files and I have flag3.rom right here. And this is on the server, so just to be sure, like challenge.montreac.ca. I upload this ROM, and lo and behold, sorry, that's the wrong button. I get my flag right here. And then the only hard part is transcribing this and submitting it. So that's it for flag 3. And then flag 4, as you've seen in the sources, basically you have to do the same code that I just put in my ROM. But what we figured out too late in the CTF, I think we submitted flag 3 with like 5 seconds left before the CTF ended. And like after the fact where we're still looking at it, we figured out that that switch statement that I showed you earlier. Sorry if I can find my code browser. In this thing here, this thing. So we figured out what this was after, and it's basically whether or not you are in developer mode, and the only way to get into developer mode is to be running the dev ROM. So you can't get into that mode by uploading your own ROM. So you basically had to exploit the dev ROM, which is flag 4, and which you may now go and try if you want. So yep.
Another thing I'd like to point out is also that when you actually got the third flag in the CTF, the return string of the flag, so the message that NorthSec tells you when you get the flag, also heavily implied that for the last flag you needed to exploit the development ROM.
Right.
chance in a trance, painted red, what a romance. Take a chance, one glance, painted blue, end up with a rain dance. Just a bit stronger, an honor and a monster. Yeah, I gotta say I want this longer. Can't find this anywhere. Constant calm inside, yeah. Waves above stand by, yeah. Feeling calm inside, yeah. Won't find us anywhere. Constant calm inside, yeah. Waves above stand by, yeah. Feeling calm inside, yeah. Can't find this anywhere, anywhere. Yeah, I want this longer. Won't find this anywhere, anywhere. How I've always wondered. Yeah, I want this longer. Won't find this anywhere. How I've always wondered. How I've always wondered. How I've always wondered. Took a chance in a trance, painted red, where's the romance? Took a chance, one glance, painted blue, ended on a rain dance. Now a bit stronger, not alone with a monster. Yeah, I gotta say I want this summer. Can't find this anywhere. Constant calm inside, yeah. Waves above stand by, yeah. Feeling calm inside, yeah. Won't find us anywhere. Constant calm inside, yeah. Waves above stand by, yeah. Feeling calm inside, yeah. Can't find us anywhere, anywhere. Yeah, I want this longer. Won't find this anywhere, anywhere. How I've always wondered. Yeah, I want this longer. Won't find this anywhere. How I've always wondered. Constant calm inside, yeah. Waves above stand by, yeah. Feeling calm inside, yeah. Feeling calm inside, yeah. Constant calm inside, yeah. Waves above stand by, yeah. Feeling calm inside, yeah. Feeling calm inside, yeah. Constant calm inside, yeah. Waves above stand by, yeah. Feeling calm inside, yeah. Feeling calm inside, yeah.
You could turn me on and turn me up with your gaze. You could make me feel oh so much with your ways. It's perfect the way you play me. It's magnetic the way you pull me into you.
Hey, what's up? So it's time to show you the last flag. I'm just gonna check. Do I have my camera on? Yeah, I have my camera on because I'll use my NES controller in a bit to show a bit what's going on with the inputs. It will serve as visual support. Okay, so yeah, first thing, sorry about that, but my reference I use generally for how the NES CPU works is currently down. So later on I'll talk about a hardware bug that I'll just have to explain, but the place that I use and learn the bug from is down, so I cannot just show you on the internet. So that's that. So basically, the fourth flag you needed to find an exploit and basically RCE because it's remote, because it's clouded, inside the ROM, the development ROM that you found at for the second flag. So well, basically, the first thing to do with that is to actually reverse engineer the ROM itself to know how it works a bit. Now, this will take quite some. This takes quite some time, so I'll try to go pretty quick, especially on the stuff that aren't really useful to know. So yeah, first thing first, you want to put a breakpoint where the actual ROM starts, so you can see, like, start at the beginning. I'm using SCEUX, which is an NES emulator that's really known to have a great debugger. So yeah, I'll be using that. And yeah, it doesn't support to break on the entry point, and the entry point in the case of the NES is a bit dynamic. So how it works is that it checks at the end of the address space, which is located on the cartridge. Right now, by the way, I basically put a breakpoint somewhere just to pause it, but it just so happened that it's like the actual address I would want to go later, so I'll just delete that one. Okay, so you need to look a bit into documentation for that, but basically when the NES starts up, it auto resets, and when it resets, it starts at the address that is pointed by at FFFC, which is basically C081. So that's actually the first instruction that will be executed. It is at C081. So I'll put a breakpoint there. I should learn how to use gotos there. And if you've played a bit with NES emulators, you know it's the right place because it starts by setting the interrupt flag, which is something you only do once in a program, and they all start like this pretty much. So you put a breakpoint there. And you reboot the emulation. So now you're actually running from the start. I'll glance over a lot of stuff because in the beginning it's mostly only setting flags up, so that's not really useful for us. Now it's hanging because it waits until the rendering is rendering a frame. So I'll just skip that up by using the run to cursor function. After that, I'll step over a bunch more time. It sets up a bit of registers there. And if you look a bit, what it's doing right now is setting a memory region at 0. So yeah, not the most not the most useful thing either. Then it goes with audio and rendering. PPU status. Same as before, this is related to rendering, so just skip it. I'm going fast, but it's because I know that's not the useful part. The part that's useful is where we're at here, where it starts to storing and loading to and from 4016, which is the address for the first controller. So basically that's when it starts to actually read inputs from your controller. So how controller reading works on the NES is a bit convoluted because they didn't want to make it easy. So basically what they're doing is that when you write 1 to the SDA and A, oh, okay. So when you write 1 to the CPU, it unlocks a shift register and just start reloading the value of the controller into the shift register until you set 0 in it. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm storing 1 into the, well, the ROM is doing it, but it's storing 1. And then it's storing 0. When it stores 0, it freezes that shift register, so the shift registers contains 1 bit per controller input, because there's 8 buttons on an NES controller, which are basically 1 if the button is pressed down, or 0 if it's not. And then when you read it, every time you read it, it will output you a single bit that represent the state of a single button, and they're in a specific order that's outlined on the documentation. So it starts with A, then if you read it again, it will return B, then if you read it again, it will return select, and then start up, down, left, right. So basically, now I'll stop actually going through that because I'm not pressing anything at that time. That's the part where I actually start reversing. But yeah, basically, now we can see that it loads the first bit, which is A. It does an N and then a break. I don't really have right now the setup to actually show how. Oh, I guess. Nah, it will be a bit too painful. But yeah, basically that's when we start actually reversing. So the first LDA will check if I press the button A. And if it press the button A, it will jump to C10C. Then it will do another load. So it will check for the button B, which will break to C12A. As you can see right there. And then if it loads another time, which if you can see on my screen is select, which is basically completely ignored. And then it does another LDA, it loads another one, which is start, and then breaks on C159. Once again, I'll just remove my push talk because this is getting quite annoying. Okay, that will be better. Okay. So if you actually go there, you can see that I'm able to press A and B. It changes color, so that's actually like stuff happening. And if I press start, it enters a whole other mode, which there's 2 buck of beer that are clinging each other, but the ROM is kind of scuffed because I can't code, so it doesn't right now, but sometimes it does. So we know that are the 3 inputs that are actually registered by the ROM. So now let's try to understand what they're trying to do. Oh yeah, I also forgot. The script is pretty long to run, so I'll start the script now so we can see the flag. Am I stupid? Did I like kill the... Okay, so I started the exploit. I'll explain the code of the exploit later. It's just that it's really long to run. It's really long to run it. But yeah, basically, if you check the handler at when you press A, you can see that it increments the variable that's stored at address 0. So you know that when... Oh, and then, yeah, I won't go through that, but basically that's a place that shifts the colors. And then it returns to the actual handling of the inputs. If I press B, that's a bit more complicated. Where is it? Okay, if I press B, I load the value I was incrementing by pressing A. Then I load 1 as an argument to X and 2 at Y, and I jump to C1B4. So let's see what's at C1B4. JSR is basically a call function. So that's a jump to subroutine, so that's a jump to a function. Yeah, that's pretty painful. I haven't done this for a while. Oh, I think it's just the function to change color again. But yeah, after that, it loads a... It resets the value at 0 to itself? Okay. I'm pretty bad at the reversing part. I haven't checked this out in a while. But basically, what it does is that when you press A bunch of time, it sets a value in it. And then when you press B, it writes that value to a pointer in memory and update that pointer to the next one. And then you can start pressing A to like increment your accumulator, and when you press B, it will write in the second byte. Press A bunch of times, it will write in the third byte, etc. So sorry if I'm bad at reversing that part, but that's basically what it does. With a bit of debugging, you can see that happen, but don't have that much time. And yeah, in the end, when there's C159, that's when you press start, which at that point, if I'm not mistaken, it changes a bunch of thing, and at the end it jumps at 0, which is a really weird instruction that you don't actually expect to see in an NES ROM. But yeah, once again, I'll go pretty quick because I'm already out of time. But basically, what it does is that when every time you press B, you increment a pointer by 1, and when you get press start, it writes it writes the address of 00, and then at 00 it writes a pointer. Am I drunk? What is 00? Oh no. Okay. It writes at 00 that you want to jump at the address pointed by the pointer that incremented every time you press B. And at the end, it returns there. And yeah. Okay. I'll repeat. When you press A, you increment a counter. When you press B, you write that value to the pointer and increment B. That pointer, at the end, when you press start, it writes at this place the address of the handler of where you want to go to see the two bears clinging each other. It also writes at 00 the byte value to go at the to jump, do an indirect jump on this pointer, so it will jump to the address pointed by that. And the problem itself is that that's the part where I wanted to show you the document here, but that's the hardware bug. Basically, if that pointer happens to be at the end of a page, so a page, if you go there, a page is, let's see, from C100 to C200. So if you end up writing at like C1FF, instead of taking the pointer from byte C1FF and C200, it will page wrap. So it will take the pointer from C1FF and C100, which is an hardware bug that's actually there on the NES and is documented and is also re-implemented in the code. So yeah, sorry about the bad reversing explanation, but I haven't touched that in a while. So while I was talking, you could also see that the flag got done by my script, so that's cool. Now let's see how it actually does that. I won't go into detail, but I wrote a shellcode that basically did the same thing as Alex did in flag 3. So basically, it that exploits a backdoor to dump a flag to the screen. That's the shellcode. One thing I talked about it in the voice chat earlier, but what's really black magic-y about that is that you need to avoid high bytes, because to write this shellcode you need to let's say your byte is 255, you need to send a packet to press the A, release A, press A, release A 2055 times. So you need to optimize your shellcode so that the summation of all the bytes is the lowest as possible, which is pretty painful to do. So yeah, you write the shell code. That part basically does login, and how it works is that yeah, say basically you want to write a bunch of stuff until you get at FF, so you will trigger the page wrap. So I start by putting junk at the very beginning, because this will get overwritten anyway by the next page because of the page wrap. Then I put the shellcode what I really want to run there. And then I basically write a bunch of garbage until I get to the beginning of the third page, which I write the actual page I want. Yeah, I write 02 because at the end it will overwrite to yeah, because basically, like I said, the very first byte of the code will get overwritten by C0, so I'm able to overwrite what C0 is. C0 in that case is the page. So instead of wanting to jump to C0 something, I want to jump to 02 something. Because 02 I haven't shown it, that there, but that's basically where your shellcode and all your controller inputs get written to. So we want to jump to where you're actually writing. So yeah, I write it at the end, and then I just fill the rest with 0. So yeah, like I said, the goal is that I want to get to 0x1ff, so that after that it will overwrite whatever the handler is. I don't remember exactly, and then page wrap and overwrite to C0. Did I miss something? But yeah, basically the hardware bug, the page wrap in the indirect jump, will do that you'll jump at that page instead of C0. So yeah, once you get that, you do a bunch of boilerplate code, because dealing with WebSocket is kind of painful in Python. And how the WebSocket work for Nestadia is that you can send a single byte that contains the information of each that contains the information of the controller, so a single byte for all 8 buttons. So I've hard coded some constants here, and yeah, the when you send a message, that's a controller input, and when you receive something, that's a um, that's a frame, which is basically raw 6-bit color bytes that are also gzipped. So basically, whenever I receive a message, I just write them so I don't lose them, because, like I said, it's pretty long to run the script. And then I start writing my payload, which I defined earlier, by pressing A, releasing A until I get the value I want, then pressing B, then going to the next byte, pressing A, releasing A, pressing B, releasing B to get write the next byte, and at the end I write start. So basically, 0, that's easy, but I don't press. I press B, I release B. Next, I press B, I release B. Then press release, press release, press release A 9 times, then B, then press release 0x 90 times, etc., until I write the whole shellcode. And now, yeah, I don't have my debugging set up at all, but yeah, Black Magic, it works. The page wrap gets triggered, I'm sent to my shellcode, and we can see a beautiful flag that appears there. Sorry if that wasn't clear, I wasn't really ready.
Well, you know what? I would say I thought I lost you at some point, and I was about to interrupt and ask a question, but then you brought us back in, and I think I understood everything. Can I do it? Of course not.
The controller
But
works.
yeah, I mean it's very involved, very impressive, very involved, as I said. I don't know like now that you said that the solution, Alex. How do you feel about it? Like, how many more hours would you have required to solve it on your own? Oh, I think Alex is watching the stream, so he's he
Wait,
won't
were you
be.
talking to
Maybe
me?
a
Yeah,
bit
I was
delayed.
watching the stream. Sorry.
Yeah, can you switch? Do you mind?
Switch. Yeah, I'm on the Discord now. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, how long do you think it would have taken you?
Honestly, I'm not sure if I would have been able to solve that one during the CTF. Like, I think I during the Monterey hack, I spent most of the period like looking at the actual like dev ROM listing, and I just couldn't figure it out like where the bug was. The page wrap thing is like actually mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's, I guess, without a hint, like you figure you're writing somewhere, but the actual trigger, the actual like control, sending the control execution there where you carefully laid out the shellcode is, I have to
Yeah.
admit, pretty non-obvious.
Yeah. It's as I said, it could be fuzz probably because you're able to because basically you're just adding a byte until at one point it crashes and doesn't make sense. But writing the actual fuzzers for that must be pretty painful before because you need to like interact with the emulator.
So quick question around that. Does like FCEUX has the same bug? It probably
Yep.
does, right?
Yep.
So
They pretty
so
much all have because some games actually use that for some reason.
gotcha. So okay, so it's common. Uh, so then even a fuzzer, even on yeah, but I mean a fuzzer wouldn't help you on this because you need to exploit the debug the your version of it. But
Yep.
I mean, to me, this is pretty mind blowing. Um,
But the
And
bug is pretty well documented, though. Not in a security context, but you can find a lot of info about it.
that is not taken offline, you mean?
Yeah, it's just that the place I learned about it has been taken online, offline.
It's probably still on archive.org if you would have
Oh
looked.
yeah, I didn't thought about that.
Yeah. But so yeah, I mean, personally, I did very bad tonight. I got the first one, which was what I expected, since you said it was easy. But the second one, I mean, I think I'm still reanalyzing. So I got okay. So I did the whole reanalysis. It's kind of finished. It's kind of not that bad actually. Oh, I think I got something going on here. But what I was telling you before in the private log was so I have Nestadia debug has more DIE error, die error, not DIE error, DIE records, die records. I'm not sure what that is. 2,003,713, then limit of 2 million, and this is probably a Guidra limit, and then some demangling. Some of the Actix web isn't demangled, but not too bad. I might give it a try, another look at statically after we're done here, but
You're basically
basically,
just asking for pain, like by not doing it dynamically.
I mean, I saw it how you did it dynamically, so now I at least wanna see, cause it's I know it's a single byte XOR, okay, so I know.
Not
Uh,
single.
oh, it's not single. I thought you said single.
Nope.
Okay,
Multi.
multi-byte XOR. Okay, so I know it's a multi-byte XOR. No, but I guess I'll just spend 5 minutes on it. But um, in any case, this was very very interesting, um, and I mean from here, what can be asked? Uh, I guess, have you started working on something for next year's NorthSec, Philip?
I already have ideas, but I haven't started coding them in yet. But yeah, I've got fun stuff incoming if I'm able to do them in time. That's always a thing.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty large achievement, very big body of code, and very interesting, big attack surface. Yet, I think
Yeah.
that's the difficulty of that challenge is it's the there's so much to look at, and I think, with us, you were saying, of course, we only have 3 hours, but you were giving us like this is where it's happening, and even then, it's difficult. So I can't imagine, um, like how s- during the CTF where you have all of this stuff to look at, how how to decide to focus or narrow, or like, okay, I tried this, it's done, I am no longer you know looking in that direction. And you mentioned earlier the other ROMs. So there's this magic debug ROM which had a flag, but the other non-debug ones, which, I mean, you can look at them, and then it's the NES reverse engineering that you need to do and stuff. So
Yeah, I think that's actually a really cool part of that challenge is you always want to go for the lowest hanging fruit, right? But it's done in a way that you go for the lowest hanging fruit and then you realize, wait, that's not it, and then you have to go for the next lowest hanging thing, and then that's not it either, and then eventually you make your way to like, oh, it has to be this. There's no other choice. But by then, like half of the CTF is already over, right? And that's part of the difficulty, but also part of what made the track so cool, I think.
but I mean, I guess let's say you have X amount of resources dedicated to low level and reverse engineering and exploit in a team, right?
Right.
Which, because NorthSec is pretty well known for a lot of AppSec and other things than just exploitation. So, like, is it because you felt that it was the track that you spent so much time on it, or is it because everything else was handled or under control that you spent that much time on it?
Well, for us in our case, I think we started on the like I focused on the reverse engineering track, right? And we had one other resource on our team doing reverse engineering. And before that one, like I started on Nestadia was the first one I looked at, but then like some other ones came around and I kind of stopped for a bit to do those. And then we had somebody else on the reverse, so I kind of just focused on Nestadia and like the rest of the reverse was taken care of by someone else. So that's why I was able to focus on it.
Okay, so basically you had a pat on the back, like we're looking at the rest, don't worry.
Yeah.
And then you
And it,
you knew that you had the appetite to grind something that
Yeah, well,
complicated.
it turned out to become an obsession. Like the more I looked into it, the like sunken cost fallacy, the less I wanted to like look away at other challenges because I felt like I was giving up on it. And that's the thing I mentioned earlier is like the every time I had a new lead and I was digging it, right? I was like, okay, this has to be it. I'm almost done. I can feel it. This is the one, and then it's not the one, but you're like, okay, so the next one's gonna be the one, right? And then that's what keeps you going.
Yeah, I mean that's impressive. Because yeah, as I said, like even with the leads, it was complicated looking and a lot of surface again. Yeah. So, Alex? What are you up to? Are you? Is it like? Are you a player next year? Is there any announcement exclusives that we can
It's
get
not
here?
clear yet. It's not clear yet. I applied to be a challenge designer. That's all I can say, but I haven't heard back
Applied.
yet. And I have some ideas, right? Like, if we want, like, I don't know. I'm doing a lot of C sharp these days. So that's what I'm gonna say. Make of that what you will. But yeah,
C sharp. There's a lot of pen testing stuff also around like loading .NET assembly in pure memory and stuff, and a couple of frameworks. I stumbled upon another one. It's hard to detect, and yeah, but like not another just payload, right? A whole framework where you can basically compile and execute all sorts of stuff. So there's definitely areas for exploration, which CTF players are usually on Linux. Maybe that's less and less of the case. I'm kind of an old school player, so
I
maybe.
mean, there's .NET Core now, so you can run C
Yeah,
sharp on
true,
Linux.
true.
Which works pretty well, I heard.
So, guys, I guess I'm gonna pull my notes, but I guess did you see any questions from our audience? Let's
Ask
if you
away.
have any question, and we need to give them a couple seconds, because of that lag with Twitch. But if you have questions, put them in the chat. We are probably gonna hang out after for those who want on in Discord, in the Benelux virtual or whatever. We might play games. We did that in the past. We might not. We'll see. And yeah, so we'll take a look at the questions if we get them. And I have a page somewhere. Oh, there it is. With some notes, and we'll see. Yeah, so since we had both of you before, I won't do the like CTF post interview. We you maybe what, Alex, I'm not sure, but I'll do it when you'll be on your own. So that you get to have your own spotlight there. So that's done. Oh, and yeah, we have to say, and oh, I meant to write this also on Discord. We are officially looking for sponsors. We want to spend more money on tools, uh, and and this includes like Hootsuite, but also the stream stuff that we use, better gear, and we plan on a bigger ho 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 day. It might be hybrid if we can. We're evaluating a lot of options, but also the only venue that would like to do in-person event right now that we contacted, and we haven't contacted universities yet, but one of the venues that would allow us to be in person charges. So it's Nutman House. They used to be free, but I mean it's difficult for everyone, especially for a startup community center based downtown Montreal on Sherbrooke. So I completely understand that they're charging, and so we would like to stay a free event and have the sponsorship pay for the hosting costs. So if your organization has is looking for cybersecurity talent, basically, I think this is where we are strong. We have like hundreds of members in Discord. We have thousands on Twitter and mailing lists and various communication channels. And we think that offering a little bit of exposures via logos and stuff like that, and some job postings is something that I think everyone will benefit from, so our community will agree with. If your organization or you want to donate whatever, we're gonna take it for sure. And because we would like really this in-person possibility to happen, and we also think that we're ready for a next stage. We have this season planned out, and we're gonna work on the next one starting in January. And I think that with the YouTube stuff, I think there's some cool stuff that can happen for us soon, and the format is pretty solid. And again, any ideas for sponsors and or suggestions to improve, let us know. And I think with that, we can say, if you know someone who did anything regarding United CTF, like solved a good challenge, participated, wrote a challenge, uh, force them to contact someone in Montreal organization. We'll have them next month, and book November 17 is probably gonna be the one where we have the DEF CON challenge, Crowell from Overflow. And fun fact, Crowell is actually a guy who was at NorthSec a couple of years back. So he played with builds, and he's a very fun guy. I think he was on the stage for Hacker Jeopardy. Pretty sure he was in the when we were back at ETS Pub, when the first time that everyone chanted USA USA, because it was our first team in Canada from the US, and it kind of became a meme of some sort, where we like they were kind of shy about it, but it was fun, right? It was all good laughs. So yeah, I think it's gonna be fun because it will bring back some of these memories, and it's a good challenge, which is also at the same time rare for DEF CON CTF, but can be done in a short amount of time. It's probably be a bit like today, where we're gonna be completely overwhelmed, but it's gonna be, something fun, and there'll be something to learn. So, guys, you want to say anything before we break out?
No, it was a great challenge. Thanks, Phil, for making it. Thanks, Olivier, for hosting this. I had a lot of fun doing this.
Well, thanks, Alex, for being better than me at explaining how to reverse stuff. and I'm happy if I made some noses bleeds. That was the goal,
I think
especially
that's not a
to
question. Yeah.
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 Consider yourself successful tonight.
Yeah, and I hope most people had fun with it. I spent a lot of time on it, and the actual goal was to make something that was cool, and I think I succeeded at that. So
You know
that's
what?
cool.
Do you have any business plans now that this is over? Like, do you want to create a service, or did Nintendo approach you with this? Like, oh, I like your cloud idea.
Actually, I'm more scared that Nintendo will DMCA me if I try to host that somewhere. That's more the problem. But the only cool thing I'd see that can be done with that and not with a standard WebAssembly and emulator is that it will allow for non-janky and actually working multiplayer. So that's something I plan on doing someday, but not
Did-
actually host it because I don't want to get DMCA'd.
The Nest didn't had multiplayer though, so
Yep. Two
it
controller.
did. Oh, two controllers. That's
Up to 4, but there's like 3 games that support more than 2 controllers.
So the way you would do it is it would be one server and the two controllers would be two browsers, like, and
Yep.
it could be like all over around the world. Ah,
Yeah.
okay, I see.
And because the problem is that generally when they do multiplayer for that, it's basically that both emulators shares their state and try to sync them, which always breaks. And the way this one it does, it would have latency and lag, but it wouldn't break for that, so that's good. And also, it's harder
Fair
to
lag.
shoot.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, everyone's going through the same lag.
Yeah, and user experience wise, I was thinking about making like you host your game, and then you have an invite code that you can send to people so that they can join and take the second controller. That's what I was thinking about. But I just need to do it one day, and I want to fix the actual emulation before.
Fixed? It needs fixing?
Yeah, I've worked for like 2 months after NorthSec to fix the emulation
yeah.
because there's a lot of bugs, and there are still a bunch of games that just doesn't work. Like I need to rewrite the CPU completely because timings are fucked.
I need to rewrite the CPU. You've heard it here.
You mean
Yeah.
because you backdoored it?
I already removed the backdoor for the non-NorthSec version. It was written for NorthSec, but I re-released it without the backdoors afterwards.
Where is this hosted? Is it under your GitHub? Or is it
Yeah, it's under my GitHub. I can post the link if someone's interested. Right
for
now,
sure, there
there's
will
there's a native front end. There's a libretro for RetroArch and stuff front end. There's there's the server version and there's a WebAssembly version. Biggest things that's missing right now is audio, which there is a pull request, but it's kind of janky and don't always work on all setups, so it's not merged yet. But yeah, there's still work to do, but it's still a very nice project.
I'm like, for a challenge, it's probably the biggest chunk of code ever created.
And you were talking earlier about how the attack surface was really huge, and that's part of the reason why I decided to do that. A big part of it was just that I always wanted to do it and write an NES emulator, and that was a reason to start a project. But yeah, part of it was also that I know I said it to a bunch of people, but basically the reversing part, the challenge, for me was write enough code that it becomes hard to reverse. That's why there was close to no obfuscation and stuff. It was just write a bunch of code and let people have fun.
with
And that's
at
it to work.
least implanted, bugs here and there.
Yeah, but they had to find it, and I didn't make it hard to find on purpose. It was really because there was a lot of code, and that was by design. It was, I'd say, because of that, it was maybe closer to like reversing of something else than malware. But I don't reverse for a living, so that's kind of on top of my head. I don't know.
Well, you did leave the symbols, so imagine
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
without symbols.
Yeah. At that point, I didn't want to be straight up evil.
Yeah. No, you realize this also was in a game context, but I understand. This is, you know, part of the difficulty. You decided like there's gonna be a lot, and that's part of the difficulty. And I think
Let's write 6,000 lines of code, and they need to find the one that's vulnerable.
yeah. No, but and I think it's fair in the sense that you realized that, so you didn't go overboard with the obfuscation, right? If you would have
Yeah.
stripped the symbols, if you would have done other things, then it would just be a, you know, flip table level challenge, right? And you would probably get less people interested into it because it would be like,
Yeah.
what the fuck, 130 megabyte, clearly written in Rust or C++, and no symbols. Like,
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, I think in a CTF context, most people are just gonna skip over it and then come back to it if there's time when you see that kind of stuff. So it was just the
Yeah.
right balance of I want to try it, and it looks feasible, but it's still challenging.
And also baiting the people with an easy flag at the beginning.
Easy flag and web interface. So you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is web, and then nope, there's
This is a web challenge,
130
and
megabyte
then
binary.
yeah,
That's great. So
and
we're
then you
gonna
find
wrap
yourself
up.
reversing an emulator.
Well, yeah, that's just the layer that, you know, on top, that is a huge layer that surprises everyone, I guess, at that point. Well, early on, but still, like, what the fuck? They really pulled this off, right? It's not just like a shim with something else behind. Like, it's the whole
Yeah.
thing is real, and it's not elsewhere on the internet. All right, thanks guys. See you around, and it's been very generous of you. Very interesting challenge, and I think I'm gonna rewatch that video a couple of times myself, especially Alex's part with, he did some GDB stuff I wasn't familiar with, so I really need to rewatch that.
I just want to point out that he emulated an emulator.
True.
Yeah, yeah.
Slow clap for that. Not slow clap, but claps for that.
All right,
Golf
thanks, Olivier.
clap.
Thanks everybody. Have a good night.
Cheers.
Good night.
Bye.